YouTube battle community, Beach Boys fans, random people on the internet. My name is Giggens, and we are here today to talk about another Beach Boys greatest hits album, the Beach Boys, Best of the Beach Boys, Good Vibrations. Came out August 30th, 1975. It hit number 25 on the charts. A pretty good showing. At this point, if you've been following my channel for a long time, you may be asking yourself, Giggens, how the hell are you going to talk about every single greatest hits that this group has ever put out? Well, I'll tell you, because I put it on, I listen to it, and then I kind of think about what was going on at that time in their career, and kind of, the space they were living in, and then just kind of write about it and go from there. So I'm fascinated by the Beach Boys, and I'm fascinated by their greatest hits albums because there's so many to choose from. And they all have a certain special, unique character about them that just drives me to them. I've loved this group ever since I was a kid, and greatest hits albums for me have always been interesting. I love the idea of picking your best songs and making a record out of it, and seeing what was left off or seeing what shouldn't have been included, and kind of going from there. So, with that, I find the idea of a Beach Boys greatest hits album absolutely fascinating because there's so much you can work with, and it usually ends up being the same 20 songs, but once in a while, those weird ones come out where there's some bizarre choices on them, like the Bug In album. Fantastic set. And so with that, I really wanted to talk about this thing and kind of why it might exist and the time it came out and the fantastic track listing on this album that really covers the group as a real solid, mature, tight, cohesive unit. So, this album for me, as I think about it, as I look at their discography, as I look at some of the stuff they were going through with buying their catalog back, this came to be, one, because of Endless Summer and Spirit of America, but also because they had acquired their post-Pet Sounds work. Pet Sounds up to 2020 from Capitol Records. They got it for their own record label with Warner Brothers and Brother Records. No doubt this is a response to Endless Summer and Spirit of America, as those two albums focus mostly on 1962 to 1966. This kind of picks up where that leaves off. So, whereas they could have easily made this thing a double album, I think maybe the market was too saturated at that point for a double album sets with the Beach Boys. Because if you bought Endless Summer and Spirit of America, you bought 8 sides worth of music from this group. So to add another 4 more sides to that, would have been a lot of information. Granted, they could have easily filled this thing up with some fantastic material from the early 70s and late 60s. No problem there. But a few years later, we did get the 10 Years of Harmony album, which is a fantastic set of all the 70s, which, yes, I will cover at some point. So, it's cool that they released their 60s albums as double sets. They put out Wild Honey with 2020 and Friends with Smiley Smile as a double record set with a different cover. So the new covers had like a girl in front of a palm tree. And a big sticker in the front saying 2-record set, and then you get some information about the group on the inside and all of their songs, and the nice labels that show the Warner Brothers Brother Records label of that time. Which I think is fascinating, but for the fact that this thing hit number 25 at that point really shows how popular the group was. I mean, they were a humongous live draw at this point, and they always would be and always will be from there on out. But, especially because of Endless Summer and then Spirit of America on top of that, they were on top of the world and seriously in demand. And so, buying Beach Boys albums was a thing you'd want to do. And at that point, the late 60s stuff had been deleted. So, they were like, all right, we'll just put out our own versions of this stuff. It came out in 1974. So right after, Endless Summer had come out, they had acquired this stuff. So the timing was really good on their part for that one. The Wild Honey in 2020 release hit number 50 in September of 1974. That's really not bad because those albums have been deleted for years at that point. So trying to acquire them was, having to go to used record stores or, trying to tape one off your friend. And then the Friends and Smiley Smile collection went to number 125 in November of 74. So, like I said, they could have made a gigantic album out of this thing, but the fact that they made one super seriously solid one-album set, fantastic. Great idea, great move. Everything on this album, bar for a couple of the tracks, actually had a charting in the United States. Some of these things may have been singles in different countries where they would have charted, but I'm only focusing mostly on the US stuff here. So I'm going to do a real quick rundown of the songs where they charted, and then just kind of talk about them a little bit. Nothing too in-depth for this one. Sail on Sailor, as a single, hit number 49. Sloop John B hit number 3. God Only Knows hit number 39. Darlin', hit number 19. Add Some Music to Your Day hit number 64. Not their best showing, but again, Sunflower, which no one bought, which is one of their best albums of all time, which I will review. Wouldn't It Be Nice at number 8. Good Vibrations, of course, number 1. Do It Again, number 20, in the US anyway. Caroline No, did not chart. Friends at number 47. Surf's Up, did not chart. I don't know if it was a single, it may have been. And Heroes and Villains at number 12. So, if they had added more songs to this thing, a couple humongous inclusions of, or humongous tracks that should have been included would have been I Can Hear Music, which hit number 24, Wild Honey, which hit number 31, and Breakaway, which hit number 63. So maybe not the best showing for that one, but at least I Can Hear Music would have been cool on here. So if they were trying to put songs on here that had definitely made a charting impact, and you know they would have taken off Caroline No and Surf's Up, you could have put on a few of those songs instead. But regardless, fantastic set. They put on the album versions of Caroline No and Do It Again, which is interesting. So you get, you know, like the barnyard effects on Do It Again, which I don't know why they would have done that. And Caroline No, you get the trains at the end, which is pretty cool. So for me, I think they made an artistic choice to put those two songs on here, like Caroline No and Surf's Up, whereas they weren't really like humongous singles, but as far as the group was concerned, with their top-notch material, those two songs are absolutely fantastic and should never be forgotten about if you're thinking of the best songs the Beach Boys ever did. You know, this whole album, you know, as a whole, is just non-stop perfection. I mean, Sail on Sailor, perfect. Super on Beat, amazing. God Only Knows, classic. I mean, every song on here is absolutely essential if you're a Beach Boys fan. And I just love the back cover. Great shot of the guys playing live, you know, in the mid-70s. I like the text that they chose. I like the black and white. I just like the look of this thing. And I also like how they put, you know, from the 2-record set, Friends / Smiley Smile for Where Heroes and Villains comes from. And then you got, you know, Wouldn't It Be Nice, which mentions being from Pet Sounds / Carl and the Passions. So I like that they were promoting their releases at that point. You know, it was very much like a, you know, a family spun kind of thing, saying like, hey, we put these out ourselves on our label with Warner Brothers, you know, here they are, this is just from this album, it's from this 2-record set. I think that's really cool and really special. Playing this thing the whole way through is such a good listen. I mean, starting with Sail on Sailor, great way to start an album, and then ending with Heroes and Villains. I mean, the whole way through, you just get some fantastic tracks, especially having Good Vibrations on here. I mean, for that to not be on the other sets, humongous, you know, song to not be on either of those albums, to have it here, that's big. To have God Only Knows on here is humongous. I mean, Darling. Then you got Do It Again, which is a big smash for them too. So, whereas they could have totally filled up a double album to make this thing a humongous, expansive set, I reserved that for a new In the Groove video, which you've never seen my videos before. I do a series called In the Groove where I kind of talk about things that didn't exist and then kind of make them up, which is just kind of fun. You know, people like making mixes, so I do the same. And that's going to be an In the Groove video pretty soon where I make a 2-record set out of this thing, where it goes basically up to 1973. It goes up to Holland. So basically Pet Sounds to Holland. What an amazing set that could have been. But overall, I mean, there's nothing tiring on this album. As a whole, like I said, it's an artistic approach to show how they were as songwriters and how they can prove themselves to be just as amazing as any other band at that time and not rely solely on their past of, you know, all the surf stuff that, you know, made them a group to begin with. So to focus on 1966 to 1973 and some really, really amazing tracks to show their versatility, their growth, their maturity, and the way they can write songs and just, you know, develop as a group, and especially a live act at that point, I think speaks volumes to what this set represents. So, in one sense, it's another greatest hits album. You're probably going to skip over it. In another sense, this is a fascinating document of a group that took some of their best tracks and made one solid single LP to prove that they were up there with any other band at that time, that they can match with them no matter what, hands down. So, with that said, let's take a look at the inside here. I love this label. This Brother Records label with Reprise Warner Brothers has always been one of my favorites. And again, my lighting is not the best, but it's that yellow label with the darker yellow ring around it. Let's see if we get really close. Maybe that makes a difference. There we go. Yeah. Just looks really nice. Good vibrations. Best of the Beach Boys. For me, for this kind of stuff, like, it's definitely like, I love like the text, I love the color, I love, the presentation. So for me, it's one of those things where like, I like the package overall. I think they did a nice job with that. So hands down, 10 out of 10, no problem. All day long, 10 out of 10. Just a nice document of the group at this point. And it's interesting that they don't have a picture of Blondie or Ricky on here because they would have both left by this point. So the group is, everyone besides Brian, and Bruce was gone. So it's like just like they show 4 guys in the back and not even a mention of Brian on here, which I think is fascinating. But yeah, hands down, 10 out of 10. Let's talk about this thing. I'm really curious to know your thoughts on this and where it stands in their discography of greatest hits albums and what it represents for the group. And, for me personally, I would totally introduce somebody to the Beach Boys with this album. I think this is a great place to start. That way, obviously people know the surf stuff, but if you've never heard anything else the group ever did, this is a great place to jump in. So, with that, my name is Giggens. Just a quick video today about this thing, and really curious to hear your thoughts, and we'll talk about this thing some more. So, Beach Boys, good vibrations, best of the Beach Boys. This 1966, 1973. That's it. 10 out of 10. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.